And good afternoon, YouTube community, guys and girls. It's me, your boy Lex Anderson, and you know what it is. It's time for that week 2 recap of the NFL. And you know what? We're going to hit the ground running, and we're going to start with the games that I called right that turned out to be wrong. And the first game up would be the Thursday night game, Texans at Bengals. And it was a black tie affair as Deshaun Watson arrived in a tuxedo for his first NFL start, which was the same day of his birthday. And my man, he truly was the icing on the cake. 15 out of 24 for 125 yards and 5 rushes for 67 yards, including a 49-yard touchdown run as the Texans upset the Bengals 13-9. And you know what? I've got to do a better job at researching my stats because, of course, I find this out post-game that Dalton is actually 1-6 versus Houston with 2 playoff losses. Dalton, of course, the red flare gun, is 20 for 35 for 224 yards. But unfortunately, the Bengals are 0-2 for the first time in 50 seasons failed to score a touchdown. The first team since the 1939 Eagles. And they're the first team to start the NFL season with 5 scoreless quarters since the 2009 Rams, who went 1-15 on that season. So, Andy Dalton, I'm no longer believing in you. Your Bengals are trash. I believe the day after, or a couple of days after, they fired their offensive coordinator. But the troubled waters in Cincinnati run way deeper than that. Another game I had called incorrectly, unfortunately. The Bucks beat the Bears. Wow, how about that? 29-7 on that one. Jameis Winston throws for 204 yards and a touchdown. And how about that Bucks defense, forcing 4 turnovers? QB Glennon threw 2 interceptions. One of them was a pick six by Robert McClain. And the Bears did score their 7 points with 1 minute and 43 seconds left to play. Folks, I'm going to tell you right now, from what I saw in the highlights, that Bucks defense, the Bucks and defense have always been a staple of that team, even when they were at the bottom of the NFL, back when Warren Sapp was out there. So this Bucks defense honestly scares me, and the league should be put on notice after what I had saw. Very impressive game. Let me hit the scroll button on this real quick. Dolphins at Chargers. Why do I do this to myself? Final score 19-17 as the Chargers field goal kicker, who amazingly has not been released, misses a 44-yarder with 5 seconds left to play. Come on. Meanwhile, you have this guy Cody Parker for the Dolphins nailing a 54-yard field goal. And talk about someone who I had underestimated. Jay Cutler throws for 230 yards, but they have a ground game. J.I., 122 yards on the ground. Rivers, 331 yards, but special shout out to Antonio Gates for catching an NFL record 112 touchdowns as a tight end. Congratulations, even though it was in a losing effort. And Philip Rivers at this point has lost the most games by 7 points or less by a quarterback. So congratulations, Philip Rivers, for your ineptitude, but not just yours, but your team as a whole. And as for that field goal kicker, what's that young man's name? Young Ho Koo. The Chargers said that they are going to stick by this guy. I say it's time to show him the door, honestly, because these 7 points or less losses, that's what separates the non-playoff teams from the playoff teams. But here we go. I got to own up to it. The game of the week, my upset of the week, that the Cowboys would go into Denver and beat the Broncos. Boy, was I wrong on that one. It's Trevor Siemian, who I honestly didn't even know of when I heard that he would be their QB. Lights up the Cowboys for 4 touchdown passes, and the Broncos defense stifles Ezekiel Elliott to 8 yards on 9 carries, and Prescott throws a pick six as the Cowboys get annihilated in Mile High Stadium, 42-17. Whew. And speaking of that pick six, shout out to Aqib Talib for his 103-yard interception return. Very impressive and very devastating. Special note, Von Miller didn't have a sack in 5 games until this past Sunday, where he took Prescott to the ground twice. And the Broncos definitely have their running game going on, which has always, of course, been a staple of the Broncos. Good defense and a good running game. C.J. Anderson runs for 118 yards and 1 touchdown. Wow. And let's see what else I got here. Okay, so I didn't really call as many games wrong as I thought I would. All right. But where did I go right? The defense forced 5 turnovers in a 24-10 manhandling of the Browns, which we shouldn't be surprised. But how about the Ravens defense, folks? Shout out to my boy G Money, diehard Ravens fan. Your team, the Ravens D, which has always been a staple of that organization, now has 10 takeaways in the last 2 games. They had 4 interceptions and a fumble. And you know what we say, folks, defense wins games. And the Ravens with this defense, it might be early in the year, but you could definitely say Super Bowl contender for this team. Okay, what else do I have here? Vikings at Steelers. No Sam Bradford, no chance. Big Ben throws for 2 first-half touchdowns. And, of course, the Vikings without Sam Bradford. What else is new? Sam Bradford is almost always injured at some point. But after such a great game that he had, I'm kind of surprised that he was out with this knee injury. Final score, 26-9. But you know who needs to watch out? That wide receiver, number 10, Bryant for the Pittsburgh Steelers. 3 receptions, 91 yards, and a touchdown. And let me tell you, this guy is the perfect complement to Antonio Brown, because while everybody's focusing on Antonio Brown, this guy, Bryant, is wreaking havoc down the middle and on the sidelines. So congratulations to Bryant on the game that he had. Okay, I called it right. Patriots at Saints. Well, how about Tom Terrific? Tom Terrific throws for 3 touchdowns in the first quarter for the first time in his career as the Patriots beat down the Saints 36-20. Brady, Tom Terrific, was the model of efficiency, going 30 for 39, airs it out for 447 yards, and the aforementioned 3 touchdowns. And how about Gronk? 6 receptions for 119 yards and a touchdown, but unfortunately suffered a groin injury in the second half. So we'll see how that plays out for him heading into this coming Sunday. Let's talk about this Saints defense, though. The Saints defense, which we have to acknowledge, has been lackluster since Bountygate. Let's be real, folks. It's no coincidence that after Bountygate, the Saints defense has suffered. They're not at the top of their game. They're clearly getting lit up. And Drew Brees can only do so much. Speaking of Drew Brees, 27 for 45 for 356 yards and 2 touchdowns. But on the historic note, as much as I despise Tom Brady for his cheating, he joins Warren Moon as the only QB 40 years or older in NFL history to pass for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns in a game. And let's also make it a Killer Bee segment, right? Killer Bees on the attack. Well, guess what? This was the first time in NFL history that you had such prolific passers playing in a game together. Brady and Brees have combined for 922 touchdowns and 128,251 yards. That is truly a lot of air miles, folks. Eagles at Chiefs. I called it. Once again, the rookie phenom, Hunt, runs for 2 touchdowns, and Alex Smith hits tight end Kelsey with the shovel pass for a score as the Chiefs win 27-20. Alex Smith had 251 yards and 1 touchdown. And let's see, wins for the Eagles had 333 yards with 2 touchdowns. However, he led the Eagles in rushing 4 carries for 55 yards. And like I've said time and time again, folks, when your quarterback is the leading rusher for your team, 9 times out of 10, that's going to end up as a loss. My favorite game, the good old rivalry, Titans at Jaguars. Well, how about this? The ground game was truly on point as you had Derrick Henry, Delanie Walker, and Jalston Fowler each ran for a score as the Titans walked over the Jaguars 37-16. And you see me smiling because I am just so happy that happened. Marcus Mariota goes 15 for 27 for 215 yards. And Bortles, unfortunately, if you're a fantasy guy, you would love Bortles. 20 for 34, 233 yards, and a touchdown. But however, those 2 interceptions and a fumble definitely did prove costly. Again, final score, Titans 37, Jaguars 16. Cardinals at Colts. Was this a nail biter or what? Palmer and the Cardinals forced overtime to beat the Colts 16-13. And the Colts unfortunately fall to 0-2 for the 4th straight year. Yeah, there's probably a good chance that this team will not be making the playoffs this season. However, on the historic note, Adam Vinatieri has now made 177 field goals between 20 and 29 yards, breaking a tie with Morton Anderson. Bills at Panthers. I'm just gonna label this as a game of defense as the Panthers win 9-3. Cam Newton, he of the Activia commercials, goes 20 for 32 for 228 yards. Jets at Raiders. Well, I'm just gonna put this down right now, okay? Because Marshawn Lynch literally danced all over the Jets. And of course the players on defense would be crying about how disrespectful he was, how embarrassing it was. Well, hey, try not getting lit up to the tune of 45-20, and maybe then we can talk. Once again, as a New Yorker, I am truly embarrassed by the Jets again being a laughingstock on national TV as Marshawn Lynch, who is known for not even talking in his interviews, is dancing all over the sideline. I'm like, wow, isn't this a sight to behold? Speaking of a sight to behold, how about Carr? 230 yards to go with 3 touchdowns. Crabtree was clearly his favorite target on the game, 80 yards for 3 touchdowns. And again, that must be mwah for those fantasy guys that have Crabtree. Lynch runs for 45 yards on 12 carries, excuse me. And what else do we have here? 49ers at Seahawks, another needless nail biter. Will the Seahawks ever get it going on defense? Final score, 12-9, as a late touchdown pass by Russell Wilson is just enough to get the W over the 49ers. So, you take what you could get. Redskins at Rams. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, this is another game that I had actually called wrong. I was hoping that the Rams would win, but a late touchdown by Cousins lifts the Redskins over the Rams. Final score, 27-20. I gotta do better than that. But, I was hoping that the Rams would have held it down, especially after that first game where they dropped 46 points. But hey, Sunday night game. At least I got this one right. But unfortunately, when you have no Jordy Nelson and you have no running game, when you go into Atlanta, that's going to equal a loss. I don't care who you are. Aaron Rodgers' discount double dud isn't exactly that good. Jordy Nelson, the minute I saw him hopping, limping down the field, that was already a signal that the game was over. Final score, 34-23. Matt Ryan, 252 yards with 1 touchdown. Julio Jones wrecking havoc all over the field as usual. 5 catches for 108 yards. However, on the plus side, Aaron Rodgers does hit the 300 touchdown milestone. On another side note, I don't care how great a season the Falcons have, opening up their new $1 billion Mercedes-Benz Stadium. At the end of the day, you clowns could have opened up that stadium with a Super Bowl trophy, but guess what? 28-3 actually equals a loss when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons. And I had called it that the Falcons were Super Bowl pretenders last year, and I will continue to label them as Super Bowl pretenders this year. Because you know what? Every game you're going to hear it. They were up 28-3 at halftime and lost the Super Bowl to the Patriots. That sucks. So continue to air it out. Enjoy your beautiful $1 billion plus dollars, probably taxpayer financed stadium. I love the aerial views though, of course. And shout out to the owner for keeping the prices so low. $3 nachos, $4 hot dogs, and not just for football events, for all events that are in that stadium. So I definitely would like to give a shout out to Arthur Blank for his generosity regarding the concessions in that stadium. Just for that, I might have to make a trip down there myself. Plus my girl loves nachos. And of course the Monday Night Football game. Why not? Let's go with another embarrassing game on display for the whole world to see on national TV as the Giants lose 24-10 to the Lions. So at this point, I'm closing the book and put it to the side. You know why? Because I didn't watch the game, because I knew that the Giants would lose. But guess what? In between watching wrestling and BoJack Horseman, I did some channel surfing. And you know what I saw? I saw Eli Manning throw a pass that hit Brandon Marshall in his chest, and he dropped it. He dropped a sure 30-yard pass. And then you know what else I saw after Brandon Marshall dropped the pass that hit him in the chest? I saw Eli throw an incomplete pass on third down. They punted the ball, and it was returned for a touchdown. And at that point, I turned to continue watching wrestling because I knew that this game would end in a loss. So I'm not going to speak on the stats of it because as a New Yorker, I am thoroughly embarrassed and disgusted by the display or lack of display of offensive power on the Giants' part. It's Monday Night Football. The entire nation is tuned in to watch you play. And just like the Jets, another embarrassing loss. Horrible. Eli, it's time to start. It's time for Giants management. Someone in the organization needs to start looking towards the future. I've said it once, I've said it again. Brandon Marshall is not an elite wide receiver. And Odell Beckham, I'm not in his body. I don't know how his ankle's doing, but he's diva supreme. He's definitely not no Julio Jones. And the Giants need a running game. You know, you got to go with what you know. And when I think of the Giants of yesteryear, I think defense, I think running game, a powerful, strong tight end, and 2 wide receivers. What's so hard about replicating a blueprint that will clearly put you on a path to winning? But however, there is one saving grace, and that saving grace is right here. As I reach over New York Yankees. Whew, that's the saving grace. Classic 2-1 victory over the Minnesota Twins. Aaron Judge hits home run number 44. Aroldis Chapman, the $85 million closer, comes in and blows them away. And of course, any 2-1 score final which your team wins would of course have to be labeled as an instant classic. So shout out to the New York Yankees and salutes to the Yankee universe. Hashtag Bronx Bombers, hashtag Pinstripe Pride, hashtag Yankee Universe. That's all I got for today. I'll be back later in the week with my predictions upcoming for week 3. And on another note, shout out to the Oregon Ducks for blowing out Wyoming. That was a beautiful game. University of Oregon, I salute you. And I also would like to salute the people who are watching this video. Thank you guys and girls of the YouTube community for tuning in. Subscriptions, I would really appreciate it and love it if you did. So please make sure you take a quick moment out of your day to hit that subscribe button and also hit the thumbs up button. Let me know how I'm doing. I love the likes and I love the subscriptions and I love you people for tuning in and watching my videos. And and special shout out to my boy G Money one more time, the true diehard Ravens fan. And a special shout out to Brother K on Twitter. Y'all go make sure you follow Brother K and check out his Instagram profile, 930 views, to see the above and underground of New York City like you've never seen it before. And until next time, this is your boy Lex Anderson, and I'm signing out.